Now understand the ground. The seed needs ground to develop, and the ground is thinking. This is not incidental. This is structural. The seed cannot develop without thinking, just as the physical seed cannot develop without ground. This is the 7-minute daily focus, day 116 of 365, to focus on the world within from the world without. Today's focus, the law of seed, the ground of the seed. Pause for a moment. 3 days in, you have understood the seed. You have understood its nature. You have understood that seed and thought are the same. Now understand the ground. The seed needs ground to develop, and the ground is thinking. This is not incidental. This is structural. The seed cannot develop without thinking, just as the physical seed cannot develop without ground. Pause for a moment. Consider the physical seed once more. Take the seed out of the ground. Hold it in the air. The seed is still complete. Everything it will become is still within it, but it will not develop because there is no ground to receive it, no environment in which what is within can begin to move toward expression. The seed requires ground, not to become complete, but to develop what it already holds into physical expression. The ground does not create the tree. The ground enables the tree to move from within to without. Pause. Thinking is the ground of thought. When you direct thinking toward a thought, you place the seed in the ground. You provide the environment in which what is already complete within can begin to develop toward physical expression. Thinking does not add to the thought. Thinking does not make the thought more complete. Thinking receives the thought and develops it, just as the ground receives the seed and develops it. The same law, the same rule of action. Thought is within, effect is without. Thinking stands between. Pause. But here is a distinction that must be clearly understood. Not all ground is equal. Not all thinking develops the seed. The quality of thinking matters. Shallow thinking is like shallow ground. The seed is received, but the roots cannot go deep enough to support full expression. Deep, sustained thinking is like rich, deep ground. The seed is received fully. The roots extend, the structure forms, and the tree that emerges is the complete expression of what the seed always held. Pause. What makes thinking deep and rich? Steadiness, continuity, focus, thinking that returns to the seed again and again without interruption, without being pulled away by what is physically seen, without doubting what the seed holds, thinking that remains upon the seed, regardless of what the five senses report, regardless of what conditions say, regardless of what appears to be present or absent in the physical world. This is rich ground. This is the thinking that develops the seed fully. Pause. And here is what interruption does to the ground. When a seed is planted and then dug up to be examined, the roots are disturbed. The development is interrupted. The seed must begin again from a less developed state. And if this happens repeatedly, the seed never fully develops. Not because it lost its completeness, the seed remains complete, but because the ground was never stable enough for development to reach expression. This is what interrupted thinking does. It disturbs the ground, and disturbed ground cannot fully develop the seed. Pause. The ground is also prepared by what you do before you begin thinking. Stillness prepares the ground. When you come to this practice in the morning, before the five senses have begun their reporting, you are preparing the ground. You are clearing the ground of what is without. You are returning it to the state in which the seed can be received fully. And when the ground is prepared and the seed is placed and thinking is sustained upon it, the conditions for development are complete. The law takes over. And what was placed within begins its movement toward expression. You do not have to watch it. You do not have to measure it. You simply have to maintain the ground. Every day, steadfast, focused, remaining. Pause. There is one more thing to understand about the ground. The ground does not choose what the seed will produce. The ground receives the seed and develops it, but the expression is always the seed's own expression, not the ground's invention. This means that thinking does not alter what the seed expresses. Thinking develops what is already held within the seed. So the purity of what is expressed depends on the purity of the seed placed before thinking, and the seed placed before thinking is chosen by you. Which seed you hold within, which thought you direct thinking toward. This is your responsibility, and it is the most important responsibility you have, because the ground will develop whatever seed is given to it, and what it develops must physically express, not doubtfulness, not struggle, not force. You are not pushing the seed, not pressure. You are not trying to make it happen, but steadfastness, focused, remain aligned with what is within. Do not be moved by what is physically seen, because what is physically seen is always secondary to what is unfolding. Pause for a moment. So understand the ground of the seed. Thinking is the ground. The quality of thinking determines the quality of development, and the quality of thinking is determined by its steadiness, its continuity, its refusal to be moved by what is without. When thinking is steady, the ground is stable, and when the ground is stable, the seed develops fully, and when the seed develops fully, it unfolds. And what unfolds must physically express exactly, completely. Pause. This is why these 14 days are structured around steadiness, not around producing results, not around tracking progress in the physical world, around learning to maintain the quality of thinking that develops the seed. Steady thinking, focused thinking, thinking that remains upon the seed regardless of what is without. Because when the ground is prepared and maintained, the seed does what it was always going to do. It expresses everything it holds, without compromise, without deviation, completely. Pause. Consider what you are building through this daily practice. Not just an understanding of the law, but the habit of returning to the seed every day in the morning before the five senses begin their reporting, before what is without begins to speak. You return to the seed, you place it before thinking, you cultivate the ground, and in doing so, day by day, you develop the practice of a mind that produces, a mind that develops what it holds, a mind that is the fertile ground for every seed placed within it. Now, the affirmation for day 116. Pause for a moment. Thinking is the ground of the seed. I cultivate the ground through sustained, steady thinking. I do not dig up the seed to examine it. I do not disturb the ground with doubt. I do not allow the five senses to move me from the seed. I remain. I sustain thinking upon what is within steadily every day. I am preparing the ground. I am developing the seed, and because the seed is already complete and the ground is steady, it will express exactly what it holds, and what it holds must physically express. Remember, by design, by focus,